The end of the original American Pie film series. It's actually surprisingly sad. Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers, and welcome to another movie review, where today I conclude my reviews of the American Pie film series with American Pie Reunion. Yes, this one here. The fourth and final movie with the original characters. So, American Pie Reunion. This movie was released in 2012, so about 9 years after the third movie, so they originally thought the third was going to be the end, and then they decided to come back down nostalgia lane and have one last hurrah with the original cast. And basically what you've got going on in this fourth movie is that it is essentially, literally, a reunion of all the old characters. So Jim, Stifler, Michelle, Vicky, Jessica, Sherman, Oz, Heather, Finch, and various others all congregate together to have one reunion. There are problems brewing between Jim and Michelle. They just seem to be having a very dispassionate marriage. They love each other very much, but sexually they seem to be having a dispassionate relationship. Jim's dad is also widowed, and he is looking to meet somebody else and start a new romance. And we follow some of the other characters who are all trying to decide who they want to be with. Oz reunites with Heather. Stifler is trying to find his love. Finch is also finding someone new. Kevin is worried about his marriage because he thinks that he has unintentionally had sex with Vicky, and then that proves another conflict. Also turns out that Jim reunites with a girl that he used to take care of called Kara. She lives next door to his dad, and she's now 18 years old. And she has a bit of a crush on him, so he's trying to grapple that, as well as being a father to his own son, and also being a husband to Michelle. So, American Pie Reunion, well, I'm going to be perfectly honest and just say that this is probably my least favourite of the series. I don't think this movie's terrible, but it's just so dumb by this point. It's just kind of tired and really elongated by this point. Like I said about American Pie, The Wedding, this movie comes across in a similar vein, but more so. The jokes are so tired, so repetitive, just so done. It just feels like this movie is basically a nostalgia card for the previous movies. They left it such a long time, and then they decided to do this one movie just to remind everybody about these characters and to basically just close the series off. And I'm fine with that, but this movie has no plot. There is no story whatsoever. They are just meeting together for a reunion. That's it. Most of the characters have similar sort of issues. They're trying to decide who they want to be with, although I guess Jim is the possible exception. Jim and Michelle are having problems in their relationship, and that's proven also when Kara tries to hit on Jim. Kara being the 18-year-old girl who is now grown up, who Jim used to take care of. And she's developed a bit of a crush on him, and that proves to be an issue between Jim and Michelle. As well, Jim once again getting caught into some awkward sexual situations. I just don't get it. Michelle spent all that time with Jim in the second film to get him confident and sexually equipped, and the third and fourth movies have just made that completely redundant because Jim has still got himself caught in situations. I guess he is naturally always going to be very awkward, which is a real shame. So I feel like they've kind of exhausted Jim's character. What more can you do for this guy? So we don't really see much of Jim being a father. I mean, his son is barely featured in the film, which is a real problem for me, because there's a scene when Michelle and Jim want to take Jim's dad to a party, and they just invite him along, and obviously they don't mention about the son. Like, who takes care of Jim's son? Yeah, they just seem to forget about the son a lot. Don't get me wrong, as a fan of these movies, it is lovely to see all the characters back, especially the ones who weren't in the third movie, like Oz, Heather, Vicky, Jessica, although Jessica's not really in this one that much. I'd like to see Oz and Heather back together. I mean, that was nice. You really don't care about the characters and the relationships by this point. It's just so exhausted, really. They are scraping the bottom of the barrel to just try and bring them all back. Literally, it's all here for show. There is no story. They're all just here for show. They're all here to reunite. I guess the movie is relatable in that sense, in the sense that most people who go to high school probably do this in the future. And it is nice to see how the characters have changed since the first one, since the first 3 movies. But as a comedy, it just really falls flat. The jokes aren't funny. It doesn't really work. Although I did laugh a few times. There were a few minor laughs here and there. It's not all bad. Like I say, it's not like it's offensively bad or anything. It's just so dull and unremarkable. The movie runs for 1 hour 50 minutes and it feels lengthy as well. It feels long for something that doesn't have a plot, really. It doesn't have a plot at all. I did kind of like to see the character of Stifler and how he had evolved over the series, because Stifler is a real dick and he's a real unlikable character. He's meant to be a sex maniac who is a complete arsehole to his friends. He's just a very nasty person. In the 3rd movie, they did try and give him some kind of arc to establish that maybe there is a good guy struggling to get out. But in this movie, he kind of goes back to his usual self, and then at the end, his friends just realise, well, this is who he is. We're not going to change who he is. And Stifler just continues to be his usual self. So I just don't think that Stifler has really grown as a character at all. I don't think any of them really have grown as characters, which is a real shame. The one exception is probably Kevin, who has finally got over Vicky, although there seems to be an incident which is randomly written in for no reason, where he thinks that they've slept together, which is kind of stupid, because she then has a go at him for thinking that he thinks so little of her, which is not true. But then she sleeps in the same bed with him. She says, oh, you were drunk, and I took care of you. I just put our clothes on the radiator. What? You're giving this guy the wrong signals. Like, I think Vicky in this one is written to be really weird. Like, I just don't understand that. Literally, what was he supposed to think? He was drunk. You know, they were sleeping in the same bed together. Nothing happened, according to what she said, but Kevin was just completely confused, and I think he's justified in that. I think her reaction was wrong. She was behaving like a child, you know, by reacting the way she did, by saying, oh, you think so little of me and all that. So I don't get that. I think that's a bit harsh. I mean, the character of Kara, I suppose, is slightly amusing. The 18-year-old girl who fancies Jim, who used to be taken care of by him. But there's this long sequence where they have to get her back to her house, and she's drunk and she threw her clothes out the car and she's naked, and it's all crazy, to be honest. It's her 18th party. Jim has to smuggle her back to her house without her parents knowing, and Finch and Oz and Stifler have to distract her parents while Jim is smuggling the naked Kara back to her room when she's drunk. It feels like a rewrite of one of the scenes in the second movie where they have to hide from 2 supposed lesbians. It's a similar sort of, the comedy is very similar, but the sequence is a bit different. So it is recycled by this point, really, really recycled. I mean, the actors are fine. The actors do a great job with their characters, but the movie's pointless. There is no reason to see it unless you really love the first 3 movies. I do really like the first 3 movies myself. It was nice to see these characters come back together, but there's no plot. There is no plot, literally. I mean, the first movie was amazing. The second movie was really good too. The third movie was good, but it was time to hang up the hat now. This is like the epilogue that we don't really need. It's like an extended epilogue. It's not needed. What I will say is I did like the credits sequence where they had all the images of the films. That was nice. So the movie wins on nostalgia. That's definitely something. It is a nostalgic movie, and that's definitely why it was made. It was made for nostalgia. But these characters are all so done. It was nice to see Nadia back, nice to see Sherman back. All the original characters are in this movie, which is good if you're an American Pie fan. But any casual viewer is not going to get anything out of this movie, because you should only really watch this movie if you've seen the other movies. And even then, the movie's not that funny. It's got a few laughs in there, but it really isn't that funny. Jim's dad as well, he's good in the movie. I mean, he's quite funny, although he doesn't have as many of his funny speeches as he used to, which is a kind of a disappointment. But I still like the scenes where he's interacting with Stifler's mum, and they end up going on a date at the end, and during that scene in the end credits is well, that is quite amusing. Like I said at the beginning of this review, there is a certain sadness, a certain sentimentality of never seeing these characters again, because having watched the 4 movies, I have grown to appreciate their journeys. You know, I like them very much, and I especially loved them in the first movie. And I think it was nice to bookend it, at least give some of the characters who weren't in the third movie, to give them some kind of closure. If you were to completely disregard this movie, you wouldn't really be missing very much. It doesn't add much to the series, other than some nostalgia and a couple of laughs, but really, the American Pie series was never going to go further than this. It really is the last hurrah, and I think perhaps it could have been one movie too many. I'll give it this. I will regard it in the fact that it does bring back some other characters who were missing in the third one, but I do believe the third one serves as a better ending. I really think American Pie felt complete as a trilogy. The fourth movie doesn't add anything. It is nice to see Paul Finch, actually, and we're seeing a different side to Paul Finch in this one, because he actually lies about what he's done. He doesn't have this high life that he imagined he did. He actually has a very low-paying job, and he was looking for a raise, and then he stole his boss's motorcycle to get by, and because he was unhappy. So I kind of like the fact that we're seeing a more rebellious side to Finch, which is interesting. Oh yeah, and the very end, when Stifler manages to screw Finch's mum, I guess that was kind of funny. I'll let the movie have that. That was payback, I think. After the first three movies of Finch and Stifler's mum, I think that was good payback. Overall, American Pie Reunion, it's not bad, but it's nothing amazing. So I'll have to give this movie a very middle of the road, a 5 out of 10. I just think it's okay, but there's just really nothing else going on here. Like the usual party scenes, sexual jokes. It's all very much the same. If you've watched the American Pie movies, you'll know what to expect. You will know what to expect. But anyway, that's my review of the 4 original American Pie movies. So yeah, what do you think? Please comment down below. Let me know what you think. I will be doing a brief ranking of these 4 movies at some point. I know that there are some spin-off movies, and maybe I will review them in the future, but I don't have a lot of interest in them, to be telling you the absolute truth, and I don't own them, so I need to work out how many there are, and if there's a way to access them. But as of now, this is it for my American Pie reviews, so thank you very much all for watching, and as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya. Bye for now.